Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to Black Knight Gaming. We're here today with a 3-skull assassination mission in the jungle, and we're coming in with a couple new additions that should be rather surprising. So we have an Annihilator, which we picked up at the end of the last episode from the black market, and this Annihilator is decked out with an Ultra AC5 and an Ultra AC2. And we also have a Shadowhawk that's been remade into a bit of a Punchbot. So we have an arm mod that does 60 melee damage, and we have a gyro that should help with our melee accuracy. So these are the two mechs that we'll be testing out, and Archangel, because he is, well, I guess he is our representation in the game, and because of that he cannot die, we'll be taking the Punchbot just in case things go horribly, horribly wrong in this assassination mission. And with all of that said, let's jump right in. Alright, so we've loaded in, and wow, does that Annihilator look like a nice addition to our lance, coming with those gigantic cannons on its arms and its torso, flanked on either side by the quick draw and the Vindicator. So, you know, we're slowly moving up in the world with our firepower, and we have a smuggler leader to destroy over on the northeast, as well as two, it looks like, reinforcing lances up in the northwest. So this is kind of nice. They are a little bit separated, so we should be able to come up this way potentially and take on these lances before we take on the leader. Those of you who watched our prior assassination mission on the channel, and those of you familiar with the game, will know that as soon as you get through the armor on that on the assassination target, you start to have to worry about him running away, which is the last thing that we need. So we have two choices. We can either go over first and try to take that mech out, or we can handle the reinforcements first and let the assassination target be our last priority and handled kind of once everything else is done, which is how I tend to prefer to do it, because then I really don't have to worry about anything unexpected coming up, one of my mechs taking a hit because its facing is toward the assassination target rather than toward most of the firepower coming in. And plus, with this first lance really being right up next to where we are, it does seem like a nice idea. So there is an enemy moving on Initiative 1, which could be an assault mech. It could also very well be a heavier vehicle. Probably is a heavier vehicle, considering this is only 3 skulls. I'd be a little bit surprised. Yeah, and it does look like that vehicle is moving on Initiative 1. So let's see if we can get the Shadowhawk, which is our new Punchbot. We could jump up here, but that would be kind of a little bit too hasty, I think. What we instead want to do, yeah, okay, so we'll bring the quick draw up, and okay, we have identified the assassination target. No, that's a reinforcement mech. Alright. Might be a little bit worrisome having to deal with both of those lances at the same time. Let's go ahead and sprint up the Vindicator, and then I think what we want to do is we want to take our Punchbot somewhere where it can hopefully not really be seen, but also still be able to reach that vehicle next turn, and I don't think that's really something we can accomplish. So let's just go ahead and jump right into the thick of things here. And, well, we're building a lot of heat. That is an SRM carrier, and we have good accuracy on it with the twin SRM6s. I think if we're lucky, we might be able to take that thing out now. If not, certainly we make it easier, and that SRM carrier has been taken off of the field. I was a little bit worried for a second there that we were dealing with a Saladin or something like that carries a couple, well, an AC-20 or some additional firepower there. And now, okay, so this was a bad decision. Our Shadowhawk actually cannot move off of this spot, which is a little bit worrisome, but it has a ton of evasion. So that's fine for right now. I think what we want to do is, let's go ahead and so there's an Assassin, there's a Griffin, both very heavily damaged. Let's see if we can get the Vindicator moving up. Let's see if we can try and bore right through some of the armor on one of these mechs. So let's take fire at that Griffin. We do land the large laser, a couple of the mediums, structure exposed, but not ripping anything off of those mechs, and it looks like our quick draw will be taking some long-range missile fire. Nothing too bad, just a little bit of evasion loss, which is to be expected, and the Shadowhawk will reserve, letting those two mechs move up a little bit forward before we jump to somewhere where we can hopefully get in for a nice punch, maybe even on the rear arc next turn. That Shadowhawk again has a wonderful engine, great mobility, so I'm hoping for the best from this Punchbot. Does look like we managed to dodge a PPC hit there, coming in from that Griffin, which has chosen to stay stationary, not really the best of all choices it could make. And there is a sensor lock going down on the Shadowhawk, which is fine because it's about to move, so taking maybe one LRM missile that does find its mark. And now we're up against the quick draw. Could move up this way, get some fire in on the two mediums there. I think instead we will reserve. Okay, so it looks like that's probably a heavy mech moving at initiative 2 or an assault moving at initiative 1. It does look like it's probably a heavy mech. And the reason I reserved is to try to get a line of sight with the Annihilator, but it looks like the quick draw might be blocking its way. So let's see if we can move up some. And okay, so we have excellent firing arcs on this assassin and the Griffin, and we are going to shoot in at the assassin, just a much better chance to hit there. Of course we do miss a little bit, but structure exposed, some jump jets destroyed, and that assassin will not be long for this world. And now that we've done that, we can see where, well, really just less than ideal movement on this Annihilator. I'm not really sure why. We should be able to move more than just one hex in this direction. Maybe it's the terrain slowing us down a little bit, but I think we will sprint. It's a little bit unfortunate. I wanted to test out the firepower on that assault mech, but we will be able to next turn. So let's go ahead and jump right up nice and close, and potentially even open fire again. Those twin SRM-6s will just rip right through the exposed structure on that assassin, and that's a lot of criticals there. So we destroy the intercept system, which the intercept system on those assassins does help that mech ignore evasion pips, so taking that thing out is vital. And now we have our first punch, so let's come in and let's smack that assassin, just see what happens. Okay, so we core it out immediately. Now that assassin was heavily damaged, so there's no real true test to the power of that Shadowhawk quite yet. But still, you know, we could have failed there, and that would have been truly embarrassing for our dedicated Punchbot's first tryout. So we did succeed, and it looks like we will have to move this Vindicator back down and around. We'll move him into the trees. Sure, that will let the Cicada fire in, but it's a Cicada. I'm not really too worried. And it does miss with that singular medium laser. We still have 4 evasion pips on this Vindicator, and I'm starting to like where our pilots are for right now. I think I'm feeling a bit more confident about our pilot skill, and if this is kind of how we're chopping through a 3-skull mission, it could be worse. Now, I say that right as we take a PPC on the quick draw, but it can weather a few of those hits without too much trouble. And the Shadowhawk also taking some light fire, but it is entrenched, and I think the Shadowhawk will be going after that Kintaro. Now, the Kintaro is one of my favorite mechs for its default loadout, but it's one that I've never really had the joy of fielding. I never really seem to encounter them on missions, so if we have good salvage there, I would like to get it, but with the Punchbot, it's very hard to avoid coring something out completely. So let's open fire on the Griffin, landing a lot of those medium lasers, a lot of the SRMs. We get a head hit, but not enough to do any significant damage to that mech in terms of ripping off its armaments or taking the pilot out of commission, or even getting a knockdown. So now it's our Annihilator's turn, and let's just see what he can do. So we'll move in to cover, because it's always better to have it than not. And let's take a look at our targets here. We have the Cicada, we have a Thunderbolt. This is probably the smuggler leader. It's up armored, well, standard armor for a Thunderbolt, I think, but 1040 armor. This thing will take some effort to chew through. We also have a Shadowhawk, not really the best chances to hit here. And I think our best choice right now, let's just see what happens if we open fire on that Cicada. We have enough to precision strike, we have enough resolve to precision strike, but I just want to see what the first volley of this Annihilator can do. Now that we've hyped it up more than we potentially should have, that Cicada is just utterly destroyed, being blown to absolute smithereens, right arms, right torsos, just shaken off of that mech before we bore through the CT as well. So this Annihilator really showing what the firepower of an assault mech can do. So now we will be making a bit of a choice. So the Griffin is still alive. We could punch it this turn with the Shadowhawk and then move the Shadowhawk over next turn to deal with that Kintaro, and I think that will be what we want to do. So the Shadowhawk is stationary. It could take some deadly return fire from that Kintaro next turn, but you know, we'll see if we pay the price. In the meantime, we've destroyed one of the legs on this Griffin. That mech is knocked down. Importantly, it should also move lower on the initiative track, which will allow us to fire at it again before it has a chance to move. And I'm not really too worried about these mediums here. Our Vindicator is taking a significant amount of fire. I will want to move that mech back, but this is the joy of having this Annihilator come in as well, because now that we're starting to take some damage on our mediums, this Annihilator is still free and clear. So we'll move up the Vindicator this way toward that Griffin, and we do have a rear arc exposed from the Thunderbolt. We'll see if he chooses to use it. I think he'll probably go for the Annihilator instead. This is a little bit dangerous. After all, the large laser could definitely fire in, so could the LRM-15, but we will want to just focus on taking this Griffin off the board. So maybe we'll core it, maybe we'll take out a leg, and we do destroy the second leg. So that's good salvage there from that Griffin, although I'd rather get the Kintaro or even the Thunderbolt parts for that matter. The Thunderbolt would be a real prize. Replace our quick draw right now for our heavy mechs. And the Kintaro opening up on the Shadowhawk like we expected, raining in some good missile fire there. We do have nice cover from Bulwark and from the trees, so each of those missiles did half damage, which saved us from really taking a beating. And the quick draw has some damage on his right-hand side, so we're going to come up here, we're going to left face a little bit, and see if we can't put some good fire on one of these two mechs. Excellent chances to hit on that assassin, so let's see what we can do. Landing all of those medium lasers, destroying jump jets. It's always a little underwhelming when the result is just taking a jump jet or two out of commission, and the Thunderbolt's moving up, as I expected, opening up on that Annihilator, and you guys can really see the benefits of that heavy armor. Now, we do of course take a head hit because, you know, why not? Only doing 4 damage, but Glitch will be injured and out of commission for our next fight. And it is a little bit tempting now to try to put some fire on that Thunderbolt, but we do want to save it till last so it doesn't run away. I've had a couple times where upon getting through the armor on the assassination target, it turns out it's already in the zone that it needs to be in to escape. So we want to put as much firepower on that as quickly as possible. So we will be opening up, utterly destroying that Annihilator. A lot of that firepower was a little bit excessive, but it just feels so good to test out an assault mech for the first time this campaign, so I hope you guys are enjoying as much as I am. And the Jenner, I think, opening up on the Annihilator, yep, that's a Jenner, and just not even putting much of a scratch on this beast's outer armor. We have taken some damage to the right torso. I think that was from the Thunderbolt. Again, those assault and heavy mechs will be able to put a bit of a beating on us, and I think for right now, so we can jump over here. This Kintaro is going to be hard to punch because he's kind of in a place where there's not much accessibility to where he's standing, so we'll jump the Shadowhawk. Attempting to use a Vigilance here to prevent some issues with instability, and I think we will, before opening up on the side arc of this Kintaro. So lots of orange numbers. We are a little bit lucky that all of these supporting mechs have just truly terrible armor. It's making it a lot faster to chew through them. And now it's the turn for our Vindicator. So the Vindicator will move up nice and close to this Jenner, potentially. Well, okay, so the Vindicator's CT has started to take some damage. I don't really want to lose that mech, so we will move a little bit farther away from that Thunderbolt and just probably open up on either the Jenner or the Shadowhawk. No real difference here either way, but I think what we want to do is put a precision strike down on this Jenner. Hopefully they'll leave it next turn and we can open up another round of fire before it has a chance to move, or, yeah, so we take out the right torso, we take out the right arm. One more volley from our medium or from our quick draw SRM should be able to take that mech out of the fight in its entirety. So the Shadowhawk taking some light fire, which is as expected, and now it's the turn for our quick draw, so we can move up here. And, well, I'd kind of meant to keep more of a left face than that. It's a little bit hasty on my part. But we can open up fire on the Jenner and see if we can't take that mech out of commission. So we can't, of course, and the SRM-4 on that Jenner does take a crit, but it's not destroyed either, so that mech still has full firepower aside from losing that right arm. So we didn't take anything else off the board. And the quick draw, taking some long-range missile fire from the Thunderbolt that will start to add up over time. So let's just move really up close and personal to this Jenner, to this Shadowhawk, and I think now the play is to shoot at the Shadowhawk. If we shoot at the Jenner, it'll be more than enough firepower, but we're also able to take that Shadowhawk out in one volley. Granted, again, it had very poor armor to start, but you know, a win's a win, so why question it too much? And now we'll be getting just right up and close with this Kintaro, able to melee it next turn, and hopefully able to get in some good damage with those twin SRM6s. We crit one of its SRMs, we aren't able to take that out, and we might get punched for our efforts next turn. So this is why we have Archangel in that mech. If things go the absolute worst that they could, we do have a bit of a, well, not a fail-safe, but a little bit of insurance there, because we cannot lose that pilot, while we could lose some of our others. So the Jenner is down, now we have just the assassination target, the Thunderbolt, and that badly damaged Kintaro left on the field. So the Thunderbolt is moving? No, the Kintaro is moving. It does take a swing. Looks like it did potentially land. Let's see. Well, yeah, it looks like that swing did land onto our Punchbot, which is less than ideal. But let's see, where should we move here to have a good firing arc? So if you move up this way and it retreats back here, we won't really have a good ability to chase, but if it retreats to the north, which is where it did spawn from, that should be alright. So I think we will take that position. Excellent accuracy, partially from elevation, I think. Yeah, height difference coming in at -6. We are otherwise long range and obstructed. This would be a very poor shot. But we will be firing in at that Thunderbolt. Okay, the target has been damaged, which is nice. And we do get a head hit, which, you know, that could be very good. We could potentially get lots of the salvage for that Thunderbolt, although we are taking this for money. Currently we do have bankruptcy projected, which is a direct side effect of buying an Annihilator from the black market. So we'll move up along this ridge, and I think we will come in with a precision strike on the Thunderbolt. Excellent chance to hit one of those legs, which I think is what we'll go for. The idea being if we can leg that mech, it can't escape. So structure exposed, kind of difficult to tell where that structure was exposed, and it looks like it's the Kintaro's turn. Coming in with another swing, really putting a lot of stability damage on that Shadowhawk, and we actually almost lose our footing entirely. So Punchbots are risky in those sorts of close quarters, so we will have to vigilance. And we'll take a swing back, and our swings are significantly more powerful. So let's see if we land it, and we do. We destroy that right arm, unfortunately not getting rid of that Kintaro's ability to brawl with us and keep punching. And I'm getting a little bit concerned, because if we lose that right arm, we lose the arm mod that's giving us such a deadly hit. This is part of why these sorts of punch bots really aren't super effective there. I mean, that arm mod takes up 5, I think, slots in the arm, although it is very lightweight, and we do run the risk of losing that ability relatively easily. And that arm mod, I believe, was somewhere on the order of, I think, 400,000 C-bills, which is not cheap by any stretch. So let's come in again with the quick draw SRM, opening up fire on the Thunderbolt, destroying some heat sinks. I had kind of hoped after that initial head hit we might be able to leg this mech, maybe take it out in good order, but it doesn't look like that's the case. The Vindicator taking an LRM, looked like the CT there, but just taking that hit square on. And now we need to end this fight, because if this drags on much longer, we will lose the Vindicator potentially, and that's the last thing we want. So coming in with a precision strike, not the best accuracy on that leg, but if we can take it out, left torso destroyed, side torso destroyed, okay. So this Thunderbolt is just going to have to go down the hard way, which, you know, sometimes is what you have to do. So the Shadowhawk moving before the Kintaro. We have a couple of choices here. We could try for another swing, and if we do and we don't kill it, we could potentially lose this arm, but, you know, go big or go home, right? So we will be coming up with a swing. We destroy the CT on that Kintaro, incapacitate that pilot, and I'm decently happy with how that Shadowhawk has performed. It could have done better. We did take a significant amount of damage from the Kintaro, more than I had really hoped for. And now I think it's time to get our Vindicator a little bit away from the potential firing arcs from that Thunderbolt, and we don't really have a good firing arc here, so we will reserve. Let's see if it can move somewhere that gives us a better shot. And now we can shoot in with a quick draw. Coming in on that right-hand side mostly, we do run the risk of tearing off that other torso, or we could try to shoot with the Annihilator first. if we have a shot, and we don't have a shot, so that AI making great use of cover to our detriment. So the quick draw will fire in. No real chance of hitting that left leg here. Let's see. If we try to aim for it, we can't even aim for it. So just having to do a regular shot here with the quick draw SRM. A lot of orange numbers. Well, looks like that torso is hanging on still. And now let's move our Punchbot back over. I don't think it'll get there in time to participate in this fight, but you know, it might. It could always surprise you. So let's move up the Vindicator. Kind of getting a little bit worried. If we take that large laser again, we'll be getting really close to having structure exposed. But I do want to use it for a precision strike. Aim for the leg, but also to slow this Thunderbolt down to Initiative 1 so that our quick draw has a chance to fire again. We aren't able to handle all of that heat, so only 3 medium lasers this time in the SRM-6. We could have potentially gone for 4 medium lasers, a little bit more concentrated firepower, but ripping off that other arm does severely limit the damage output of that Thunderbolt, and I think all of its weapons are offline. So now it's just the Annihilator, and this Thunderbolt has just moved up, kind of asking for the end. We both know it's getting a little bit embarrassing, and that mech does go down. We'll be right back here with the mission rewards screen. Okay, so here we are with the mission rewards screen, and we have a couple choices to make. Well, only one choice to make. We, again, took this for the money, which was sorely needed. Only 213,000 in the bank at the moment, and I think we will take that Thunderbolt part. It will be enough to bring a Thunderbolt online. We could potentially even use that in another mission right here during the same episode, so it's proving to be a little bit exciting today, and I think that will do it. Yeah, so we get a Shadowhawk part as well, always nice, and a small laser with a damage boost. So that could be incredibly useful. A couple of those on something like a Firestarter makes for a great mobile alpha striker, and we could actually put it on our Punchbot for some additional damage on the punch, which is kind of what we want, but I think we have some limited hard points on that Shadowhawk at the moment, so we'll have to take a look at that. Alright, so we're back with a second 3-skull battle here on the lowlands, and if this goes well, I think we will be doing another campaign mission during the next episode. If the event pops back up, we have to complete, I think, a couple more before we get the next mission available for the campaign, despite, you know, doing a little bit higher skull ratings than that mission probably will be, although, well, I don't quite remember, so we'll have to take a look. But we are working for the Irano Restoration against the Oregon Directorate here, and we're keeping the Thunderbolt out of the fight for right now because I'm not super happy with its loadout. So MG's just never the most effective thing, and the LRM-15 is fine, but the SRM-2 is basically a waste of space. It's not great for crit seeking, it's not great for damage, it is light. But I want to take a look at this mech and really make it our own before we put it back out on the field. I mean, right now its armor is even lighter than the Quick Draw, which is one of the least effective heavy mechs, at least in my humble opinion. So we will be fielding this same lance again, just doing a second field test, and unfortunately Glitch is out of commission, and Medusa will be subbing in. Oh, my apologies, Behemoth will be subbing in, switching with Medusa for the better accuracy on those weapons for the Annihilator, and keeping Archangel on the Shadowhawk, again, just in case things go horribly, horribly wrong. So with all that out of the way, let's jump right in. So we're back and loaded in, and as we're moving up, I thought I might just take a moment to explain, for those of you who habitually just select maximum salvage because, you know, more salvage is always better. The reason that we're going for a little bit more money, even with this job as well, is because spending our entire bank account on the Annihilator has prevented us from taking anything that would be helpful for things like upgrades to the Argo, which are completely necessary. So it looks like here we have 2 or 3 heavy mechs, which would present amazing opportunities for salvage, but we only have 3 salvage selection max if we had gone for it this mission, and it would have made the cash payout negligible. So, you know, it's not the best decision, but it's the one that I went with for that reason. I want to get us some more upgrades on the Argo, a little bit better, faster repairs, that sort of thing. So we have an Orion, one of my favorite heavies. We have the Thunderbolt, another one of our mechs that, well, is among my favorites, but we also got Thunderbolt variant up and running after the results of the last mission, and I think what we'll be doing is jumping up and behind this boulder with the Shadowhawk Punchbot. We might not have the range next turn to make that punch, but we have excellent evasion, excellent bracing, and that is of utmost importance right now as well. So I think, well, that's horrible accuracy, but there's a lot of armor on these heavy mechs, and there's at least one more as well. So I say at least because in theory there could be a pilot good enough to be having a heavy mech move at initiative 3, which would be a little bit worrisome. But the most important thing is bringing our own Annihilator to bear. And because they will move before the Annihilator, I'm trying to keep everything in the woods with good evasion as long as possible, really let them move up, lose their own evasion with short moves, and take pot shots at us first. So quick draw, moving at initiative 3. So this is exactly what I had mentioned before. The quick draw is a heavy mech, should be moving at initiative 4, actually like ours is here, quick draw. Behemoth moving on initiative 2, rather, not 4. They count down, not up, and it's a little bit confusing at times. And I think we will just let them move up toward us before we move the Punchbot out of cover. Potentially get just a nice strike on the rear arc of that Thunderbolt if it moves just a little bit closer. So for right now, I think the next move is the quick draw. So we'll come up here, try and get still 2 evasion pips, and now we have vision on the full lance. So there's 2 Thunderbolts. We still could get lucky with salvage, and I think, so the Orion, AC-10, medium laser, the Thunderbolt, triple medium laser, LRM-10, and a large, and both Thunderbolts have that layout. So the quick draw actually with 6 medium lasers, I think this will be our first target. It's a little bit lightly armored, which is nice, and that's made very plain when we land just wonderful shots ripping through the armor on that quick draw with just one volley from our own. And our own quick draw does have more defense than that one, so we aren't able to quite reach the Thunderbolt this turn. So we'll take up this move with the Vindicator, and I think the correct play will be sprinting along this outside, trying to really make use of our mobility against these slower, heavier mechs, and then allowing the Annihilator to present a solid front line along with the quick draw, which is taking some decent fire, but again, our quick draw does have more armor than theirs, and that Orion is building a lot of heat. It won't be able to alpha strike like that for very long without having significant problems. So now we'll move up. Now that they've all moved, we'll move up with our Shadowhawk, and the Shadowhawk, well, so we can open up on the Thunderbolt, we could open up on the Orion. I think taking aim at the nearer Thunderbolt will help us because every bit of additional damage that we can do will make our punch that much more deadly, and I'm not expecting that we'll be able to take this thing out in one punch. Well, we weren't even able to do that for a badly armored Kintaro, so I'm not sure why we'd expect it here. And the Thunderbolt will be the focus of the Shadowhawk and the Vindicator this next turn. We have an excellent shot on the quick draw, and let's just see what our assault mech can do to this poor little quick draw here. Oh, that is beautiful. Okay, so the AC-10's landing some good damage, the Ultra AC-5s and Ultra AC-2s landing some good damage, and just ripping chunks off of that heavy mech, which is, that's what we had wanted. So we take some of those medium lasers offline, we take some of his heat sinking ability potentially offline as well. Let's look. So 3 of the medium lasers ripped right off that mech along with the SRM-4. And now we have a chance to move with the Vindicator as well as with the Shadowhawk. And I think what we want to do first, well, we could take the punch with the Shadowhawk first. I don't want to expose our rear arc to that quick draw, damaged as it is. So let's see what we can do here. Let's move the Vindicator up close and personal and open fire on this quick draw. We might be able to core it out if we get lucky. So let's see what we can do. And that's a lot of orange. We destroy the right leg. Of course, whatever I'm going for, whether it's a leg or a core, we get the opposites. The quick draw is down, which is very nice, and now I'm a little bit less concerned about the potential backlash on this Shadowhawk. So let's move up and let's see what our ramshackle Punchbot can do to a mostly healthy heavy mech. So structure exposed, potentially on the rear, potentially on the leg. Now that I've said that, it's probably on the front, and the Annihilator just soaking up damage really well, not even taking away one full bar from its armor indicator. And yeah, that is on the leg, so we've done exactly enough damage to expose the armor on that Thunderbolt's leg, which That always kind of cracks me up when it's just perfect to leave it perfectly unscathed for the internal structure. And I think we will just try to maneuver here clockwise around this lance. Just fold right around the quick draw, move most of our firepower so that these mechs are caught between a rock and a hard place, presenting their back to at least one of our mechs at a time. And we could now do a precision strike, aiming for that leg, only 18% chance to hit. I'm not sure that's worth it, and it'll move anyway. So if we do a precision strike now, we could open up the Annihilator on it. Alternatively, we could let it move, and we could try to finish off this quick draw, which is, that's also a good choice. So let's see, decisions. I think we will go for the precision strike on the Thunderbolt just to slow it down, and we will aim for that leg. Just, maybe we'll get lucky. And I didn't see any orange there at all, unfortunately. So the Orion coming in and meleeing the Annihilator. That melee damage, 95, all in one spot. That could be a little bit deadly if allowed to repeat, and that did go to the CT. So our CT, almost halfway damaged, still has 188 armor remaining. This is not by any stretch the default loadout for the Annihilator. We ripped out some of the weight with the 2 AC-10s that we removed, and up-armored. We still have good firepower from the ultra autocannons, which benefits the black market. But now we have a choice. We can aim in at that Thunderbolt, potentially get some good accuracy on the leg, but we'd be using a lot of resolve to do that. Or we could try to finish off the quick draw, but the quick draw will be moving after the Vindicator and after the Shadowhawk, so I'm not really too worried about that. I think what we'll do, let's try to down this mech, or we could go for the head. Let's just see what happens if we just open fire as is. I want to save some of that inspiration, and we are able to get an ammo explosion and enough pilot injuries to take that Thunderbolt off the field. So this is why you bring an Annihilator, my friends. And now it's our turn again with the Vindicator and with the Shadowhawk. And the Shadowhawk doesn't really have enough movement to come over here and hit the other Thunderbolt, but we could hit the back of this Orion. So let's first move back here with the Vindicator and see if we can't take out this this downed quick draw. 66 structure remaining there, 22, so 122. I think we will go for that leg. We'll probably end up clustering most of that on the CT instead, or just random parts, and we rip off an arm. So the quick draw still alive with just the barest bit of structure left and no armament. So this mech probably will try to punch if we give it the chance, and that still could hurt. So let's not underestimate it too much. And let's go in for a punch with the Shadowhawk on that undamaged Orion. We do miss, despite having the upgraded hit chance and only a couple evasion pips on that heavy mech, which is a little bit embarrassing. But now it's the quick draw's turn. That mech is up, and it is punching, it looks like, on our Vindicator, landing 55 damage. Again, just kind of wimpy for a heavy mech. Our Shadowhawk actually rivals that for melee damage output, and now we have a couple choices. We can come up this way and we can try to finish off the quick draw, or we can take fire at the rear of that Orion, and 4 medium lasers could do quite a bit. So let's see. We have to get some good clustering to take anything out, but I think that is the right choice, because if we can take out one of the torsos, we could potentially rip off some of the armament before it has a chance to move, and that's why we'll be doing a precision strike. See if we can let our Annihilator move first as well. So structure exposed, and the right torso and right arm have been ripped off. So that Orion is now down a couple guns, and the Thunderbolt coming in with a punch as well. 80 damage on that Vindicator, lots of stability damage, and I'm getting a little bit worried for this mech. We might have to beat a hasty retreat, as that left leg does take a fair amount of armor damage. Okay, so I think what the play is now, we're inside the minimum range of the AC2 if we go there, but not here. So let's move the Annihilator up, and let's fire in again on the rear arc of this Orion, and this should just take this mech right off the field. And it does. So we core right through that mech, using our superior mobility with an Annihilator, which is not a sentence you hear every day. Far from it. And the quick draw now going, aiming for our own quick draw, which is fine. I'd rather have it shoot, well, not shoot, but I'd rather have it swing at our quick draw than our Vindicator for the moment. So the Vindicator will be moving up and around. We have a couple of choices, so I think we'll go in for the trees here. That does take care of a fair amount of our stability issues, and we'll be firing in on the rear arc and side arc of this Thunderbolt. So opening fire, we land the large laser, we land everything in fact, stripping an evasion pip and doing some solid damage to the right torso somehow of that Thunderbolt. So I'm always a little bit disappointed when you think you're getting to be in the rear arc of something and all the damage lands in on the side, but let's go ahead and take a swing again. 95% chance to hit, and we core out that quick draw relatively easily. So this has been kind of clean, so now it's time for it to become, of course, very, very deadly with just one heavy mech on the field opposing us. We might even be able to fit in a third mission on this episode, so let's see. Let's move the quick draw up and around, get a nice flanking position, potentially able to come over here this next turn if this Thunderbolt is still alive, which I hope that it is not. We are kind of overheating with the quick draw again. This is the benefit of getting more skilled pilots. We recently got the Guts upgrade to that pilot to have additional heat capacity on this quick draw before it starts to deal itself internal structure damage, and that's why we haven't had to yet rest one of its guns. So we'll do a precision strike just to see if we can show off here with potentially a lucky headshot, and no luck. So not even structure exposed, and we just scattered that all over the mech. Coming in with some good damage to the CT, good damage to his torsos, barely hanging on, and the Shadowhawk with a frontal punch might actually be able to make some good work there. And the right torso, right arm ripped off. That is a pilot injury, and we should have maybe 3 or 4 mech salvage from these Thunderbolts, which now I'm kind of regretting taking this for money instead of salvage. So, you know, that little thing I said earlier about, well, you know, this is why, this, that, and the other. Live and learn, right? So I wasn't really expecting a Lance with this many heavies, so we got a little bit lucky there. And the quick draw overheating now, finally, getting, I think, 2 more full volleys in compared to what it was before we got that pilot upgrade, and really just pounding into that Thunderbolt, but not quite enough to take it out. And our Annihilator, well, yeah, okay, so if we move up this way, we can take a shot on the center. Oh, 2 structure. Man, that just, it's a good feeling, it's a bad feeling. I'm just not sure about that. That's kind of suspicious. But yeah, easily able to core that mech out, overwhelming force. And we'll be right back here with the mission rewards screen. Okay, so we're back, 782,000, which puts us up to well enough money to work with the Argo upgrades that we need. Really no significant damage on our Lance, some decent damage on the torso of that quick draw, and on the leg and right arm of the Vindicator, but not enough to get through the structure. That Vindicator almost getting a little bit lucky there with where the damaged quick draw decided to throw that last punch. But some good XP across the board, and we only get 1 pick here, and I'm kind of surprised we didn't get more Thunderbolt salvage than that. I thought we took that mech out with a pilot injury, but it could be the ammo explosion, ripped off an arm, and you know, things can get a little bit messy. So a large laser with increased damage is always nice. And the LRM-10 plus 2 damage, man, I'm a sucker for increased damage on things like that. The medium laser not so much. That 5 is just, well, it's not 10. I know this already starts off at 40, but you know, 10 is in fact larger than 5. And I think we will take that gyro, because much as I want a Thunderbolt part, we did just build our own Thunderbolt, and plus 2 hit defense could be a lifesaver for one of our medium mechs. So no mech parts, a little bit unfortunate. We do pick up some jump jets and heat sinks and things that will be very promptly sold, and we'll be right back here with either the end of the episode, or I think we might have time for one more mission, so yeah. Okay, so we did get the next campaign mission prompt available, so because that is going to be a longer endeavor, we will be back with our next episode for the next campaign mission. If you did stick around this long and liked the content, please don't hesitate to like, share, and subscribe. We are still a bit of a tiny channel, so everything you guys do there is greatly appreciated. And yeah, we'll be back hopefully tomorrow with the next episode.